Welcome to our tutorial today on how to use Minitab to estimate sample size. This is a deceptively easy technique. I'm going to walk you through how to do it operationally in the menu. And I'm going to offer a little bit of commentary because the tricky part is in the thinking about it. So all you do in Minitab is go to Stat, Power and Sample Size. You see, I don't have any work. I haven't done anything in the worksheets. You don't really need to. And what I want to do is, I'm wondering, what is the sample size for estimation? And this dialog box is going to pop up. Now, depending on what you want to know is how you're going to set your parameters. Let's say you're measuring a part size, and you want to know that the average part being made is 5 inches. All right, so your parameter in that instance is going to be a mean. Okay, and you want to make sure on average what you're doing is 5 inches. For our use case today, we are not measuring a part. If you've been watching some of my other videos, we've been doing a lot of work on attribute data. What we want to do is figure out the sample size of an audit to understand if our vendor is accurately reviewing credential applications to their commitment level. And what they committed to was 95% accuracy. So rather than a mean, I'm going to click the down button. You can't see it on your screen, but a drop down comes down. And I'm going to select proportion. 95% is a proportion. They must have 95 out of 100 evaluated correctly. So when I ask, what proportion are you then looking for? That's 0.95, putting it as a decimal. All right, you see another drop down here, and you can either estimate sample sizes or margins of error. What I want to do is estimate sample sizes. Now, a pretty typical margin of error, we can start with typical values, is 0.05. All right, so I'll put 0.05 in, and I'm going to click Options. Minitab is really good at pre-populating sort of the standard methods of doing your statistics. And if you've watched many of my videos, I'm not here to explain to you the statistical math behind what Minitab is doing. That would be some other entirely different course. You're more than welcome to take a statistics course. But practically speaking, how do I use Minitab to do what I want it to do, which is tell me how many applications do I need to audit? Well, for a 95% confidence level, and don't let the two 95s confuse you. We're holding our vendor to a 95% accuracy. 95% confidence level just happens to be the same number. So that's a typical it's a typical number. So I'm going to say, okay, well, how many would I have to audit to feel 95% confident that all of the population is 95 being done 95% accurately? All right, so the results tell me, the method is what I just did, so it reminds me here, but the results tell me what it would be. I would have to audit 142 applications. Now, let's say if these were part measurements, they could be being taken electronically. 142 might not be a big deal at all. But one thing that's really intriguing and important about statistics and about quality is that we live in the real world. And in this case, 142 audits of complex and lengthy applications is just not feasible given the time and the budget. So what does that mean? Does it mean we throw it out the window? No. It means we still work to a statistically significant number, but with a known parameters. So I'm going to just do it again. Stat, power and sample size for estimation. This time, I mean, I'm still shooting for 95% accurate. I'm not going to change that. But what if I change my margin of error to 10%? I say, okay, this isn't a life or death piece of engineering. What would I do if it was a 10% margin of error? That made a huge difference. All right. Now I really only need to evaluate 52 applications. That being said, these are really long applications, and that may still be too big of a number. You only have the resources you have to work with. And I would argue it's much better to choose your statistics than to just do something off the cuff. What happens a lot of times, folks will just randomly audit. I'll just pull Martha's this month and look at hers, and I'll pull Frank's next month and look at his, and hopefully it's representative. Well, that is not a great method, and it's not a statistically viable method of doing an audit. Okay, so let's go back down. You power and sample size. And this time I'm going to say, well, maybe I don't have to be 95% confident. That's pretty high. What if I'm 90% confident? What does that look like? Well, it's 40. So if you are, maybe I'll make this a little bit larger. You can see it a little bit better. Now I'm at a sample size of 40. And while that's still a big part of my day, if I'm the one doing this, it is actually manageable. I can do, a little bit more than one each day, and I'll still get through how many I need to do per month. That'll be 40 per month because I'm checking their accuracy on a monthly basis. Okay? And if you're wondering, is 10% margin of error and 90% confidence interval worth doing? Those are quite a bit bigger than the standard. I will say from experience, my answer is yes, absolutely. You may get a little pushback to start with, and you will want to take some time to evaluate it when you get it the first month. If they're not 95% accurate, they may question how well your data is being taken. Check the second month, check the third month. You have to do this with a grain of salt and understand that as you increase your margin of error and lower your confidence level, you may be seeing more variability. You might not be as confident in your data, but it actually doesn't mean that your data is bad. And I've seen this work really, really well to a tremendous degree of accuracy, such that the partner I was working with was able to, coach and train their vendor to be able to get them up to that 95% accuracy in a matter of months and keep them there. So the stability over time is going to help you know if you've chosen a viable measurement. If you are just getting all kinds of random numbers every month, it just may not be a statistically helpful sample. You may need to rethink it. But if you're still getting stability and you can see the impact of your training on your accuracy, then it doesn't have to always be at the standard numbers. And just think about your time savings now in auditing 40 per month versus 142, which is what we started with. So take that for what it is. It's a really, really helpful tool. Whenever you're mentioning the sample size or the methodology, you can share your results with the caveat of your known margin of error and your known confidence interval with folks as you share your data, just to be completely transparent. I hope that was helpful. Estimating sample sizes is something I've done quite a lot of. It's tremendously valuable in a variety of situations. If you have a concept or an idea or something you'd like to see a video or tutorial on, Please comment, like and subscribe this video, and I would love to make some of your requests. Thanks a lot.